Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. So today's video, we're embarking on a little experiment because I have been loving seeing paranormal romance kind of come back into the mainstream. I was primarily only a romance reader in the early to mid aughts, and that was a really big paranormal romance time. It was very popular. I feel like it was everywhere. But it was a very different style of paranormal romance. It was very angsty. It was very melodramatic. It was very over the top. And some of it I liked and some of it just did not work for me at all. I'll take that back. Most of it does not work for me. The super angsty, over the top paranormal romance, the super alpha hole male does not romance interests, generally that vibe didn't really work for me then, and it doesn't work for me now. So I've been very curious as I'm seeing paranormal romance come back in to the zeitgeist. And I was debating if I wanted to read some vampire books because there's been a couple that have come out recently that I'm interested in, or if I wanted to do werewolf. And I decided to do werewolf because at the end of the day, I am more of a werewolf girly than I am a vampire girly. The vampire aesthetic is not my favorite. And traditionally, my favorite paranormal romances have been werewolf romances. There's Mating the Huntress This one by Talia Hibbert, which is one of my favorite. This is a novella, and she has promised that she's going to do a full novel, a full series about this family and set in this world, which I cannot wait. But I loved this, and this was a perfect blend of the creature aspect that I like from paranormal romance, but then it was also funny, and there was really good consent and a good balance of the werewolf love interest really wanting to be protective and to take care of the heroine, but not being domineering or controlling or a jerk, which I feel like is key to my enjoyment. And then my other favorite werewolf story is Soulless by Gail Carriger. I almost forgot her name. It's the same thing in this one. This is so funny, and I loved the balance that Gail Carriger has of the main character protecting and taking care of her, but not being domineering, or when he is being domineering, she can tell him to back off and it's fine. That's kind of my blueprint for the werewolf books that I really loved in the past, and kind of what I'm going to be measuring these other werewolf books against. But with all that being said, let's talk about the books you are going to see in this video that I'm really excited about. So I am going to be reading The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. This is contemporary romance where I think both of them are werewolves. I am also going to be reading Stolen by the Wolves by Lix Robertson. This is a historical Viking werewolf romance. It's got a lot of things going on. And then finally, I'm going to be reading Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Bride is actually the book that gave me the idea for this video and why I'm trying to decide if I wanted to do vampire or werewolf, because Misery, our main character, is a vampire and Lo, the love interest, is a werewolf. So I could have gone either way, but ultimately werewolf won out. So I hope you stick around to watch this video to see what I think, see what you think, and I hope you have a good time. All right, friends, it is finally time to start this vlog. I'm a little nervous. We'll see how this goes. I'm nervous. I'm also really hopeful that I'm about to have the best time, but who knows? Well, anyways, tomorrow morning I am going to be starting Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I'm letting you know this evening because y'all know I wake up at the crack of dawn, and so I know I'm not gonna want to talk at 5 a.m. because I never want to talk at 5 a.m. So I'm letting you know now that this is what I'm going to be starting tomorrow morning. And I'm nervous and I'm excited. I have never read Ali Hazelwood before. I have had pretty much zero interest in reading her contemporary romance, but based off of everything I've heard about the tropes she uses and the way she talks about her heroes and just all those things in her contemporary romance, if there is ever a genre where that is going to work for me, it's gonna be in paranormal with a big ol' werewolf. So I'm excited. I know there's some beginner Omegaverse in here. I have a very, very basic understanding of what the Omegaverse is, and I'm kind of neutral about it.
Thanks, Mom. I seriously love you.
I seriously love you too. Their timing is just impeccable. Anyways, what was I saying? I don't know. I'm looking forward to this. I am also nervous, but like honestly, maybe I'm more nervous than I am excited. I don't know. We shall find out. Thoughts and prayers, please, as I dive in, and let's hope my love for werewolves carries me through this project. All right, I am here with an update, but I just got done working out. I feel so sweaty right now, but it was a really good workout and I'm so hungry. So I taught this morning for 3 hours. I'm home, I did my workout. I need to eat so bad, but I also need to talk to you about Bride. Listen, I might be low-key obsessed with this book, which would not have gone on my 2024, I almost said 2023. I would not have put that on my bingo board for things that were going to happen this year if I had been left to like my own predictions. So that sentence even makes sense. I need to eat. I have been making tacos for dinner a lot recently because I've been doing like this sweet potato taco thing that I love because I unironically love sweet potatoes. And I thought today it would be kind of yummy to do like nachos with them. So I'm gonna do like bed of tortilla chips, melt some cheese on top, and then put the sweet potato, ground beef, black bean taco mixture on top of that, and then yum it up. Sounds good to me. But yeah, let's talk about Bride. I'm having such a good time. Okay, I know I said I was gonna start it this morning. I told a little bit of a fib, and I did start it last night just because I wanted to. And where am I? I was listening to the audiobook on my way home from work. So I'm 156 pages in and I'm having a really fun time. So when I first started it, I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this first person narration, because sometimes first person POV in romance can just get kind of like saccharine and a little bit cringy and over the top, and sometimes it can feel really amateurish to me, and so it's a real hit or miss on whether or not I like it, but I really like it. I think it works really well for this type of story. I like how funny Misery is. Like, I think if you look at like my two favorite paranormal romances that I talked about in the intro, like the one of the key components that they have in common is that they are funny. And so paranormal really works for me when it is funny and when the author isn't taking it too seriously. So we have this world where werewolves and vampires and humans all kind of coexist, and they each have their own territories, and there's different alliances with different species. And one of the ways that humans, vampires, and werewolves ensure peace is that they'll exchange a child into each other's communities as collateral for like 10 years. And then when that 10 years is up, then another child is chosen for collateral and they switch. So our main character, Misery, her dad is like one of the like head vampire people, and she was chosen as collateral to be sent to the human world when she was 6. And so she spent most of her life living among the humans, but not trusted. Like, she had caretakers and she had another orphan that she was raised with, but she just never really belonged in the human world, and the vampires all kind of view her as like a traitor because she lived among the humans, and so she's never really belonged. And then her father, in an effort to form an alliance with the werewolf, basically signs her up to be collateral again, except this time instead of just like going and living with the werewolves, she's marrying the alpha of this werewolf pack. And the whole book is from Misery's POV. We don't ever switch to Lowe, Lowe is the werewolf's name, and we don't ever get his point of view, but at the beginning of each chapter we get like a little 2 lines. That's like his diary entry. That's great because so far Lowe has been like very kind to Misery and civil, but his attitude doesn't appear that he is super excited about being married to her, and he is a little standoffish in like his body language and just the way he talks to her. But then you get these little snippets and you see, oh no, he is way into her and he is trying so hard to play it cool. So I like that. I think that's a nice way of like giving you a little bit of insight, but then mostly keeping it in Misery's perspective. And yeah, I'm Surprise, surprise, I'm having a fun time with it. I don't know if that will continue because obviously we haven't gotten into really the romance because they're just kind of coexisting, and it's her like getting settled into the werewolf community, which I really like. And Lo does have a sister who's 7, and when she got first introduced I was a little bit nervous because I don't love children in adult romance. Like, I just know if I want children in like child characters, like I'll read middle grade, but I don't really love them in adult books. But she is growing on me and she's not bugging me as much as I was worried that she would bug me. So we'll see how my opinions shift as we get into more of like the romance. I don't really feel a ton of tension between Misery and Lo. There's not a ton of attraction there yet, but they are building a friendship slowly but surely. So we'll see. Does this make me want to go and read her Ali Hazelwood's contemporary romance? No, I'm still not super interested in that, but based on how this is going so far, like, I would 100% read more paranormal romance from her. So I'll keep you all updated. I'm kind of bummed I'm as into it as I am because it's like we have 2 days left in April, and I did have another book that I wanted to finish to have on my April wrap up, but now this is like sucking up all my attention. And even though I really loved the other book that I am reading, that one is sad and this one is fun, and so I'm just gravitating towards this one. But anyways, there's your update, and I'll come back when I have more to say. And here's my lunch for anyone who's curious. It's not pretty, but it will be delicious. All right, I did it. I finished Bride by Ali Hazelwood, my first ever Ali Hazelwood, and I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would. You all know how nervous I was. Anyways, let's walk through my rating. I am changing my rating system, and I'm changing it a little bit based off what Becca's is, because I watched a video where she talked about it, and I've been wanting to change my rating system for a while because I felt like the way I was rating books wasn't entirely reflective of how I felt about them. So a 5 is going to be favorite book of all time, changed my personality, obsessed, you know, that level. A 4 is going to be I really, really liked it. A 3 is going to be I liked it. A 2 is going to be it was fine. And a 1 is going to be I did not like this book. So based on that scale, I think I'm gonna give Bride a 3.75. But look, I had a really good time reading this. It wasn't as steamy as I thought it was going to be. I actually probably could have done with some more tension between Lo and Misery, like a little bit more slow burn, a little bit more longing. I just kind of wanted a little bit more like, oh, you know, that feeling when there's two people and they, you know, I just needed a little bit more of that. I probably didn't get very much of it because it is all from Misery's point of view. Aside from those little like snippets at the beginning of each chapter, we don't really get Lo's perspective. And so that probably, you know, contributed to that. I honestly, by the end, I could have done without the plot. Like it could have just been them falling in love. I don't know that I was super invested in this like plot of her friend going missing and then what that led to and what the, you know, final climactic action of the book was. I did think the third act breakup was so dumb, but I always think they're dumb. I almost never like them. And yeah, the kid didn't bother me, so that's good. Love that for me. It helped that she was not in like almost all of the second half until like the very, very end. There are only, I think, 3 steamy scenes, and they're not super explicit. And okay, Dad, if you're watching this video, don't watch this video, just skip this one, okay? And then if you are really gonna finish, like just skip ahead a little bit because you don't need to hear this. But the scene with the nodding, which, you know, everybody has talked about, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be based off of like other reviews. It is weird. It is weird, and not is officially my least favorite euphemism for penis I've ever read in a romance novel. I will take any of the other weird ones. I hated it. I hated it every time the narrator said the word. I was like, I don't like it every time. I was like, no. But yeah, it was fine. So I'll be interested to see how other werewolf book that I'm gonna read, what that will be like, because I think that one is like official Omegaverse, and then this one is just like a little bit Omegaverse is what I think. Okay, Dad, if you kept watching, now you can start paying attention again. Anyways, but I'm thoroughly delighted. I stand by what I said earlier. I have no desire to go back and read her contemporary romance, but I mean, the epilogue is setting up, the epilogue for this book sets up the romance for the next book. So I will definitely read that because this was a fun, goofy, silly time. And I also really liked, so sometimes with werewolf books, you know, the werewolf alpha male can be really possessive. And while that was an element in this one, I felt like Ali Hazelwood did a good job of balancing that possessiveness with Lo not wanting to take away Misery's agency. That was fun. All right. I will come back and talk to you all when I'm ready to start the next one. I owe you all a reading update. So I decided to read The Fake Mate next by Lana Ferguson, and this is a contemporary rom-com about two werewolves who work in a hospital and decide to fake date for reasons. And this one is back to kind of standard like romance conventions where it is dual POV and we're alternating POVs between Mac, who is a ER doctor, and Noah, who is a cardiologist, I believe. And this is a world where werewolves are like known entities, but alphas are kind of rare, and Noah gets outed as an alpha at work, and alphas have a lot of stigma attached to them, and so he's in danger of losing his job. And meanwhile, Mac is being hounded by her grandmother to find a mate, settle down, blah blah blah. And so they decide to fake date because a mated alpha isn't perceived as being as threatening as a single alpha is. And I really like Mac. I think she's funny. She's really bubbly and optimistic and kind, and then Noah is pretty standard stoic, you know, alpha male. And because it's dual POV, we're getting more of what we didn't get in Misery, or not in Misery, wrong book, in Bride, where we're getting that like Noah slowly starting to feel possessive of Mac and not really knowing why, or like suspecting why but not really wanting to confront it. So that does get into like some of like the more werewolfy tropes that I don't love, but I do think it's funny. I'm having a good time reading it. Am I having as good of a time as I had during Bride? I think, yeah. I think because we just have like the romance is the plot, and I think at some point they're gonna go from fake dating to let's bang to get it out of our systems, like that romance trope. So, and I used to really love that trope. We'll see if it still works for me in the same way. This one still has a lot of stuff about scent and like he really wants her to smell like him and blah 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 blah, which that was in Bride too, so I feel like I'm used to it at this point. But I am having a surprisingly good time. Never would I ever have anticipated that this late into my romance reading game I would still dig a werewolf book as much as I am. Is it weird that I'm disappointed that these werewolf books haven't been steamier? Like, they're pretty standard contemporary romance steam level, I would say. Like, not an abnormal number of steamy scenes, and like the interactions are all like very vanilla, I guess. like the nodding thing is the only thing that makes it not typical, but even that, like, everybody's just having sex in Missionary. Like, we're all doing standard, I don't know, things that happen in a contemporary romance novel. I don't know. I guess I just assumed that like a paranormal romance would be a little steamier. So there's that thought for the day. All right. Well, I'm so sorry to tell you, you're getting a phone update because my battery died in my camera and I have stuff to do today. So I gotta give you all an update before every single little thought flies out of my head. I finished The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson this morning, and the second half of this was not as enjoyable for me as the first half. I found the first half really fun. I really liked the dynamic. Mackenzie Mac is really funny and has a very like effervescent personality, and she teases a lot. And what is your name, sir? Dude, bro, wolf boy, what is your name? Noah, there we go, is very stoic and taciturn. Like, it's a very like Lizzie Darcy type of dynamic. She teases him ruthlessly. And I found that dynamic really fun. Oh, it's yard work. It's not even Wednesday. I don't know why there's yard work this morning. I thought we decided in my neighborhood that Wednesday was the official yard work day. Anyways, I really like their dynamic. It was kind of like Grey's Anatomy, but like with werewolves. Like, the hospital is a big setting, and then there's a thing that happens. So I don't know a whole lot about werewolf lore, but if Lana Ferguson is following werewolf lore, or if this is werewolf lore that she's just like made up for her book. But Mac is something that's known as an omega, and omega, I guess, are supposed to be like perfect matches for alphas, and alphas and omegas together are like written in the stars kind of pairing. So Mac doesn't tell Noah that she's an omega when, seriously? Okay, my neighbor feels compelled to use his leaf blower on the alleyway. I don't know why. Anyways, moving on. There's a thing that happens partway through. I won't say what it is, but it is very much like a werewolf thing, and it changes their relationship. Like, it ups the stakes in their relationship. And from that point on, I kind of lost interest in what was happening. I'll also say there is like a villain in this book, and the villain felt very mustache twirly. And man, the moment that villain twirled their mustache, Noah and Mac just like gave up. And then the solution was so simple. It was so simple and so like straightforward. I guess maybe Mac didn't like lay down and give up. Noah laid down and gave up, which was just weird. So that part was rough, but I almost never like whatever the third act conflict is, I almost never like it. Yeah, I thought it was handled as well as it could be, but it was still like not a great third act conflict. What else do I have to say about this? Oh, I would say this is definitely steamier than Bride. I think Bride only had like maybe 2 or 3 steamy scenes, and this one had a lot. I stopped counting because it got to be more. There is also more dirty talk in this. It reminded me a lot of Tessa Bailey dirty talk. So I don't know. I feel like everybody's mileage varies with Tessa Bailey. So use that as you will. It is not language that I enjoy. I also need us to decide if not is a verb or a noun, because it's being used as both. And I don't like it as a noun. I'm just saying. I do not like it when it's used as a noun. Verb is fine. Verb I can get behind. Noun is not my favorite. And the other weird thing in this, again, Dad, if you're watching, turn off this video. This is not for you. But when Mac would start to get turned on, the author referred to her fluids as her slick, and I didn't like that either. That is also a weird word. So yeah, that and it was used a lot. So we got 2 words I didn't like in this book versus just the one that I didn't like in Bride. So I think so far I like Bride the best. Not that it's a competition, except it totally is a competition. I really want to figure out which like brand of werewolf book is my favorite. I think I'm hovering between giving this a 3 or a 3.25, but I'm such like an endings type of reader. Like, my last impression is the one that I really carry with me. And because I found the last half of this book not as enjoyable as the first half, I'm leaning more towards a 3. But there is also some talk. There isn't like a baby epilogue, but there is talk of babies. So depending on your stance on an HEA having to involve a baby, take that into consideration. God, it's only been a week since I finished Bride, and I can't remember now. I don't think they talked about having kids because they had the hero's younger sister to take care of. So like, that was kind of the kid. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Those are my feelings. I am going to be jumping into, let me grab it. I'm going to be jumping into Stolen by the Wolves next. I am nervous and excited about this one. I haven't read a Viking book in a long time, and this I think is like a why choose like polyamory or situation. And I think this one is going to be much darker in tone than the last 2 books. So we'll see if I like that or if I prefer my werewolves on the comedic side. I'm 18 pages in to Stolen by the Wolf, and it's definitely a tone shift. I have to keep reminding myself that I'm now reading fantasy romance, basically. I don't know if the writing is good, per se. My brain is bouncing off of it quite a bit, so that's not ideal. I wish it wasn't. We start with a prologue from Thrain, the hero's perspective. One of the heroes? A hero? I don't know. And he's part of like 3 lords of Dublin, and it's 3 brothers, and it's Thrain, who I think is like our main dude, and then his brother Ivar, and Olaf, which, look, authors can name their characters whatever they want, but in a post-Frozen world, picking Olaf for a potential romance hero's name is a choice. And I'll just say that. So, the prologue actually is like 3 years after whatever is going to happen in this book, and like there's about to be like some sort of like ritual thing, and Thrain is an alpha, and I'm, based on what I know from reading The Fake Mate, I'm gonna assume Tamsin, this girl, is an Omega, because I catch on quick. So we get that little like prologue of there's about to be this some sort of like ritual between like a bunch of alphas and a bunch of women, and then we're going back 3 years in the past, and Thrain and his brothers are going to have, it's supposed to be like a truce meeting between them and this other king, but then there's like somebody goofs, and so of course they start to battle, and there's things, and y'all, there's literally a line where one of the soldiers on the other side accidentally like gets nervous and accidentally loosens his arrow early, and it literally, can you see that? I don't know if you can see it. It literally says whiz splash for the arrow, and I literally laughed out loud. That is the funniest thing I've read in a long time. I don't know why that made me laugh. And then the next chapter, we're finally getting Tamsin's perspective, and Tamsin and her twin brother are orphans, and she's basically gonna have to marry the like son of the other king in like a treaty marriage, peacekeeping marriage, and she's not super excited about it and doesn't want to do it. And my prediction, no spoilers, I don't know if I'm right, I might be wrong, my prediction is that Thrain is going to steal her to get back at the son of the king that he's supposed to be doing this peace treaty thing with. That's my prediction. I'm also going to predict that maybe nobody, I don't know how well known werewolves are in this world yet. I haven't gotten a good sense of that. I'm going to guess that this other kingdom that she's supposed to marry into does not know that she is a werewolf. Those are my predictions. I'll keep you posted. Okay, color me surprised, but I am having the best time with this book. Who would have thought? Definitely would not have thought with the way I was struggling with this book at the beginning, but I ended up sliding into the writing style just fine. She also stopped doing the sound effect, which is great because there was one more, and again, I laughed. It was not the mood I was going for, but I am having a great time with this. So at the beginning, you get a lot from Thrain's point of view, and then once we started getting Tamsin's point of view, I started to like it a lot more, and majority of the book is Tamsin's point of view. It's not, alternating chapter by chapter. We'll get a few chapters from Tamsin, and then we'll get maybe one from Thrain, and then we're back to Tamsin for a little bit. And I think it's really interesting which chapters and which emotional intimacy or physical intimacy moments we get from Tamsin and which one we get from Thrain's. I think that's really interesting. It's been some really interesting choices, and this is a lot sweeter than I thought it was going to be. Now, don't get it twisted. This is still like pretty vengeful romance. They're not romance, but like fantasy. Like the fantasy aspects are really dark. There is a lot of danger. There is a lot of violence. There's a lot of bloodshed. There's a lot of like religious trauma. So like that stuff is all really heavy. But the actual like romance between Tamsin and Thrain is really sweet. And I like that Thrain is really considerate and thoughtful. I think sometimes when I don't vibe with werewolf romances, it's because the werewolf alpha is too alpha and he becomes like an asshole instead of like a caring, nurturing, protective partner. And I think this one, it's doing a good job of him being protective, but also being respectful of Tamsin and her wants and her desires and her needs. So A+ for that. I'm really digging that. I'm really nervous that I'm going to finish this book and I'm going to need book 2 immediately because I have less than 100 pages left in this book and I just don't know. I just don't know what's going to happen. There is not sexual violence, but there is, like, I feel like that is going to be a thing that happens before the end of the book. The content warning at the beginning says that, like, it's stopped. The outcome is not attained, but that is something I think that is going to happen by the gross, I wouldn't call him a bad guy, but he's definitely not a good guy, but he's not the main threat of the book. He's the main threat to the person he's going to attack, but he's not the main threat plot-wise, I don't think. We'll see. So anyways, who knew I would love this book? I didn't. I hoped I would, but I didn't. And this I might have to do an official video about this, but I picked this up off of Riley's recommendation. She did a video where she tier ranked all of her romance reads from the last 3 years, and 2 of my favorites were in her top tier, and I think this was in her top tier as well, and I'm really liking this, so I might have to go back and read the other books in her top tier that I haven't read yet, because she might be my book twin, which would be cool, because out of all the people that I follow on YouTube, almost nobody is my book twin. Like, a lot of the people I follow because I like their personalities and I like their content, not because our reading tastes align. So I rarely get book recommendations from watching booktube videos just because my taste doesn't align with the people that I watch, but Riley might be that person for me, which would be awesome. This book has me in a chokehold. The level of control this hero has is everything. Everything. Like, when I read a queer romance, I don't mind if both characters are messy or if one of them is messy, that's fine. But if I'm going to read a hetero romance, that hero better be buttoned up, in control, precise. Oh, I love it. I love that dynamic. I love a super in control hero because watching the heroine unravel him is the best. So anyways, I can't believe this is the book that I've updated the most about and the one that I have been the most obsessed with. Did not see that coming, but maybe I should have, knowing this is one of Riley's favorites. Maybe I should have. Joke's on me, I guess. But I'm having a great time. I'm super nervous about how this is gonna end. Ooh. Also, there's been 2 steamy scenes, but these 2 not even had sex yet. Like, not full, like, we've wound up to it a couple of times, literally a couple of times, but not yet. Okay, that's it, bye. Okay, I finished it. I don't have time to give you a full, like, thing right now, but I do need to read you this review on Storygraph. So this person gave Stolen by the Wolves 4 stars. And their review says, I don't know either. Like, sometimes you just need to read Viking's Omegaverse and call it a day. You feel me? And also, why did this slap so hard? It's just perfect. Perfect review. All right. Are we ready to talk about Stolen by the Wolves? What did I tell you earlier? Okay, so I don't want to repeat myself. I think I'm giving this a 4. Well, I'm waffling between a 4 and a 4.25, but this definitely, like, I really enjoyed this. Like, really enjoyed this. Now, here's what you need to know. Like, it says Viking Omegaverse, and let's remember, my understanding of Omegaverse is really tenuous. I don't know a whole lot. I would have to look into what make an Omegaverse book Omegaverse other than werewolves. But this definitely reads more like a fantasy than a romance. And I'm sure this series gets steamier as you go, but this book really ends on a cliffhanger. Not too bad. Like, the author leaves everybody in a safe spot where, you know, no one is in dire circumstances, but this is not a romance where the couple is together by the end of the book. Like, this is one where you have, like, a fantasy series where you have to read the whole series, I'm assuming, to get the HEA, because at this one, like, by the end of it, you know that they are both developing feelings for each other, and, like, some things have happened, but there's no declaration of feelings. It's definitely to be continued. I don't want to get too specific because I don't want to spoil it, but I really liked this. Now, the essay that I think I mentioned earlier wasn't as horrible as I was anticipating. I was pretty nervous about that, and she does, like, escape from that situation, and it's handled. I think I would reiterate this book is really violent, you know, way more so. Definitely, like, My Fake Mate didn't have any violence, and Bride maybe had, like, a smidge, but this one definitely is violent because, you know, it's Vikings. What can I compare this to? Anything? The closest thing I could compare this to is maybe,
Mama?
yes, 30 minus 18.
Yeah.
12.
12. I have 12 minutes left.
Okay, sounds good. This ended up reminding me a lot of A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Lee Levane, which is one of my favorite romances. That's also like a Viking romance, and I love that book so much. I would say the hero in this, I already forgot his name, Thrain, is much nicer than the hero in Heart of Blood and Ashes. The hero in Heart of Blood and Ashes is a big old dirtbag. Not dirtbag, but he's mean for a good chunk of that book. So I like that Thrain is lovely. I liked him so much. Yeah, I don't think I'm giving you anything coherent, but I like this so much. Will I continue on in the series? Probably, much to my surprise. Do I feel like I need to start book 2 like right away? No. I will be continuing on. It won't be immediately, but I will be continuing on. There's also an author's note at the end where they talk, they? Okay, it doesn't say. I'm gonna go with they, just to be safe. The author does have a note at the back about their research for this book, which was really interesting, and I would definitely recommend maybe read the note on their research first. I kind of wish I'd read it first because it was really interesting to read about like what they had looked into, what kind of inspired this location and this story. Anyways, I think I'm gonna give it a 4.25. And now that I'm saying that, what did I give Bride? So maybe I have to give it higher because I enjoyed Bride, but I really enjoyed this like the whole time. Now, we did not have any steamy scenes in here, so I didn't have to hear my trigger words or read my trigger words since I was reading this one. So that definitely helped. So we'll see if in book 2 there's some more explicit scenes. Maybe my opinion will change. Oh, I gave Bride 3.75. Yeah. So 4.25. That's a good one. So when we get to like a later book and there's a more explicit scene and I have to see those words again, maybe then my opinion will change. But as of right now, I liked it so much. And with that, we are going to wrap up this video. And if it's not already apparent, my ranking in terms of enjoyment are The Fake Mate, followed by Bride, followed by Stolen by the Wolf. This was such a fun little vlog to do. I had a great time reading all these werewolf books. I thought maybe I would be burnt out on werewolf by the end of this, but honestly, I could read more. So maybe I will. I don't know. Let me know if you have read any of these, if you are going to pick up Stolen by the Wolves now. I don't know. It's a good time. And also let me know if there's another like creature thing you think I should read. Like, should I go back and do the vampire one? Obviously I've already read Bride, so I can't do that one, but there is like still A Tempest of Tea, and I think there's a couple other vampire books that came out recently that I'm interested in. And of course I can't remember them off the top of my head. But anyways, let me know your thoughts down below, and if you want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here. I mean, obviously we have to do a wolf emoji, and liked if you like it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!